Great. Hi, we're live, everybody. Welcome to our Friday webinar. And the numbers are creeping up. I can see you all coming in. Fantastic to have you with us. We're joined by two amazing guests today. I couldn't be more excited to welcome Abel and Simi, who are both musicians who've trained in all sorts in classical music, in classical training, but also do all sorts of different kinds of music making and improvisation and creativity. So they're really, really brilliant guests to have with us. So the usual format, you can ask questions in the Q&A that I will ask them on your behalf. There's going to be some polling for you to vote on things. We're going to find out some secrets about them that nobody else knows. And without further ado, I'm going to do a screen share and they are going to introduce themselves. So here we go. We've called this webinar Different Paths because they've taken kind of different paths with their musical journey. And oh, hang on. Sorry, I just need to come out of that and move this so I can shrink it. There we go. Right, here we go. Different paths. So who's up first? Let's see. It is Simi. Tell us about you, Simi.
Hello, everyone. I'm Simi. So I'm the one on the left, and then the one on the right who looks very much like me is my sister, Raki, and then in the middle, that's my brother. And yeah, I come from a very musical family, which I feel very lucky about, and used to play a lot with my brother and my sister growing up in Wales, which is, yeah, so I grew up in Wales and used to play a lot with male voice choirs and do lots of concerts around Wales and go to the youth orchestra. And I was there till about 16. And then I went on to music school in Manchester to Chetham's, and then on to music college, and then the big wide world.
Fantastic. So you all play violin?
We do. No one thought to give us a viola or a cello. 3 violins.
Wow. And who's this?
So this is Manchester Collective, actually one of our very, very first photos. And I started the group with my sister and a man called Adam Sabo, and we kind of all originated in Manchester because we all went to RNCM. And yeah, just had this idea to create a chamber music collective where we did things a bit differently. And yeah, I mean, I kind of still play with them now, but Adam and Rex have taken it to amazing places, and the group's doing really amazing stuff, so definitely check them out.
Great. And you write your own music?
Yes, so this is from my website. Yeah, so I guess for the last maybe 5 or 6 years I've kind of really decided and felt this urge to kind of express myself on my instrument. So yeah, the top track in there is when I went to Canada to go for a music residency in Canada, which I just said. And yeah, went there for a month in the mountains, in the Rocky Mountains, and you know, just went on this artist retreat and met loads of other artists and wrote that track. And yeah, it's kind of spurred me on to try and do my own stuff, and that's something I'm trying to work on now.
Fantastic. And who's this lot?
This is Kaleidoscope Orchestra. It's quite funny looking at this because I feel like we all look a bit younger, and it's really nice to see all our faces. And you might have seen us popping up on YouTube and BBC over lockdown because we started doing lots of lockdown videos which seem to have gone off, and BBC Breakfast, and the BBC seemed to really like it. So yeah, we've had a lot of success actually in the last year, which is a bit of a weird thing to be able to say, but we do lots of dance music and classical music crossover stuff. So we call ourselves an orchestra fit for the 21st century.
Brilliant, amazing. And I think we've got a little video of you now. Let's have a look. So amazing. What beautiful sounds. Thank you so much, Simi. So let's move on now to Abel. Tell us a little bit about you, Abel.
Hello, everybody. I hope you're all well. My name is Abel Silauchwe. I am a South African cellist. I also studied in the same place as Simi, actually, but she's like a little bit older than me, but we met at the RNCM. And I came to study classical music. I was playing like all the Boccarinis. Like in this picture, actually, I was playing a Boccarina sonata, as I can remember, maybe for even an exam or something like that, a long time ago. And then I came up with with a few improvisational groups, because I really missed home. So I thought I need to start playing music from home, and that
Tell
really
us where
like
you're from, Abel.
I'm from South Africa. Home is South Africa, so there's a lot of like singing and lots of harmonies, but also quite a lot of rhythm. And I decided that, these two things can live in the same world. So sometimes I'd play like a Debussy sonata, and then sometimes I'd like be throat singing afterwards, and then I'd go to like a like really super chilled Bach, feeling, and then maybe I'd improvise for a little bit and see where I get to. So and sometimes that was really challenging, but it actually helped me quite a lot to really be able to understand, my voice and the things that I love the most about music. And it's a combination of classical music and African music and different types of African music. So and being able to translate all of that onto the cello is pretty much my job. So I like to make the cello feel like a percussion instrument. I like to make the cello feel like a groovy, bass, Moroccan instrument, as well as a very melodic instrument. So this is, yeah, what I really like to do. And I've been here, I guess, for 10 years in the UK, and playing in different festivals and playing with different people and writing music of my own for orchestra and cello as well. So yeah, a combination of classical music and other improvised music.
And what were you doing in this picture?
In this picture, oh, okay, this was amazing. This was at the Royal Festival Hall, but the big catch is that the Royal Festival the hall was completely but we were playing and having a huge party on stage with the BBC Concert Orchestra, and everybody was dancing. Everybody was, getting down. There was lots of drumming and a lot of solo cello playing as well, and it was a bit weird to play to no audience because there was meant to be, a full house that day, like 2,000 people or something like that, but there was nobody, and but everybody could see it, and it's on iPlayer actually on BBC, so you can watch it as well.
Catch up with it. Fantastic. And we've got a little video now of you in action. Let's have a listen. And I think Simi's in this video too, because they work together a lot. So here we are. This is amazing.
Sari utara tipa kabu haling gonna gonna. Sari utara tipa kabu haling gonna gonna.
Wow, it's quite hard to stop that. I don't want it to stop. It's fantastic music, and it's all on YouTube, isn't it? So you can catch up on all these guys. They've got amazing stuff out there. So if you want to go and do a bit more listening and watching, that's great. Well, okay, so let's kick off with your childhood, Abel. It must have been a very different experience to mine and Simi's, I imagine, and probably to a lot of the children who are watching today. Tell us about your childhood.
Okay. Well, I grew up in the south of Johannesburg, and in South Africa we have what we call townships. So it's if you remember, South Africa went through a period called apartheid, where there was segregation, right? So this was not a very good thing for black people. It was very sad actually, and but there was a lot of people who fought for us. My parents, there's a guy called Nelson Mandela who you should really look up, who was one of our biggest heroes. He was one of the presidents of South Africa, and he really fought for us. But before then, what happened is that we had a geographical way of living. So like we used to have the center, which was the city center called the Central Business District, and then you'd have the leafy suburbs on the outside where all the white people used to live, and it was really nice. And then far out, you'd have all the townships. So we'd be quite away from ways of making a living and that kind of thing. So it was a really tough place to live in. But after we had freedom, it was great, but actually geographically it stayed the same. So all these townships exist everywhere in South Africa, and we speak different languages in different parts. So I grew up in one of these townships, and one of them is called Sebokeng. And I basically started to learn music from home. Everybody always sings at home. Like, whether you're hungry, you sing for your food. If you're angry, you sing. If you're sad, you also sing. So it's always a way of being able to feel better, really. And that's the music all started from there. And then my brother actually went to a music school to another township called Soweto. And Soweto was one of these famous townships where there used to be so much art, so much music, lots of dance, and it really excited us. So my brother used to take me with him. And then one day I was asked to choose an instrument, and I went through all the instruments. Tuba, nah, I don't like metal. Flute, nah, it didn't work, too small. And then I finally landed on the cello, because I like the size and I like the fact that I could carry it on my back. It really worked for me, and it had a huge range, from like really like deep bass and like really like expressive high tones. So that was really interesting for me. So that was the beginning of my music learning, and that's where I grew up. And I was learning with a whole lot of other, young black kids as well in the township. And then later on, we were given the opportunity to play in different places, and we started to meet, the rest of the world, really.
Wow, what an amazing story. So how did you actually get a cello?
Oh, that's a hard story. I mean, we used to share cellos, so you'd go every Saturday. The school opens only on Saturdays. So there'd be maybe 7 or 8 of us in the class. And then the teacher he was a great teacher. He actually studied at Menuhin School, and then came back in Switzerland, not the one in the UK, but in Switzerland. And he came back and he was teaching, and his father was the principal of the school, but we had not much resources. So my brother was very clever. So what he did was that he would think about how the cello is built. And then he'd say, okay, we're going to learn the theory of how the cello works at home. From Monday to Friday, that's what we do. On Saturday, you put it to practice. So he would draw like 4 lines on a piece of paper. He'd be like, that's your C, that's your G, that's your D, and that's your A. And then you start to learn about tones and semitones. So if you put your finger just there, that's a semitone. And then we'd sing it and stuff like this. And then we'd learn tone, semitone, and we'd learn scales on paper, basically. And then, learning how to hold the bow on anything you could use, a pencil, a broomstick, like you just learn, what it feels like. And then after a while, on Saturday, we all get together and we pass the cello around, and some of us improved really quickly. It was amazing, to be able to do whatever you can with whatever you had. And then we'd also learn a lot of things by ear, because sometimes you don't have the score. So we'd record like a Haydn cello concerto, and then we'd like listen back to it and then try and play it. And then it was hard. And then you look at the score, and it's a totally different thing, but it was a great process. And after a while they said, we think you really should have your own cello to be able to take home. And that was one of the greatest, gifts I ever had. So that was the beginning of that.
Amazing. What a fantastic story. So Simi, tell us about you growing up in Wales and, with a musical family. And what was that like?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, similarly, it's also a land of song, we like to think, to South Africa. And very different place though, and I guess, we had the thing of the fact that my dad was Indian, and then we had Indian names growing up in little Welsh villages, and sometimes that was a bit difficult, but actually we were really accepted, and we used to just do loads of concerts nearby. Wales is amazing for the fact that it would have so many community concerts, so we always had like amazing chances to play. And yeah, my sister and my brother both went off to music school, and I think apparently I just picked one up because I saw them doing it, and our mum was amazing and would drive us around everywhere and sometimes make me practice when I didn't want to practice, but now I'm really grateful she did it. And yeah, just it was quite a classical upbringing. And then yeah, I stayed in school. My sister and my brother went off to music school when they were like 9, and I was like, no, I want to stay home. I like being home, So I grew up in Wales and really enjoyed it till about 16, and then went off to music school. And yeah, I wouldn't change it for anything. And it's interesting because my dad is Indian and my mum's from England, but I grew up in Wales, and I feel like I'm Welsh more than anything, and watching rugby with my school friends when I was a teenager and running around the hills, and yeah, just really grateful to grow up in the countryside as well.
Fantastic. Great. Oh, look, we've got a poll about you, Simi. Okay, so you can all vote on this to find out what Simi's best ever birthday present was. And you can vote, Abel, too. Anybody, all of us voting. Lots of people are thinking it was your first bicycle. Was it a epic water guns, glow in the dark skeleton pajamas, or a bicycle? Okay. This is loads of people have voted. Nearly everybody has voted, 81% so far. Okay, I'm going to share the results and you can tell us what the answer is, Simi. Drum roll. This is what people think. They think it was your first bicycle. What is the true answer?
It's actually epic water guns. I used to love running around the village with water guns and playing with my friends, and it just reminds me of having so much fun and not caring when you get wet or, and just like trying to get each other. And they used to make really good ones in Toys R Us, so I just remember like wanting to get the next best one.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Oh look, we've got another poll, a poll about Abel. Abel's favorite place to go on holiday is Cape Town, Berlin, New York, or Amsterdam. Now this is coming in fast again. 59, 65, everybody's kind of voting, in it comes, and I can see that Cape Town is nudging into the lead ahead of Amsterdam. Okay, let's see what the answer is. Seems like most people have voted now. The answer is they think it's Cape Town. Abel, is that right?
I would like to confirm that it is Cape Town. Yeah. Seaside is the best.
Tell us all about Cape Town. It's a beautiful place, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's it feels like the whole town is encircled by this mountain, and there's this Table Mountain, which is really beautiful, and there's many places to walk, and I just love going to the sea, finding a little cove where nobody's ever been before, and just like sitting there all day. That's my vibe. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a question now for you, actually, Abel. How old were you when you went to music school? When you first went to?
Great question. So it started. I was 9, but for the first 2 to 3 years, we were not allowed to play any other instruments. We only played recorder. So that's how we kind of learned. We learned star notation and things like this. And then at age 11, I could choose the cello. And then I started to learn the cello from that age. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. So Simi, can you tell us a little bit about how you go about making up your own music? How does it work? Like, where do you start?
You just start. You just have to pick up. And I think the easiest thing I find is, if you like, my teachers would say, like, choose an emotion or look outside and look at something and try and create something that reflects that. And so that's a really nice way to do it. But I think also it's listening and really listening to all the stuff that you love, and it really seeps into you and becomes a part of you. And then when you come to your instrument, you just try and just see what comes out. And the hardest thing is trying to not care and just like catch that moment. And it's not always there. And if it's not, it's okay. But when it is, and actually with technology now, what's so nice is that you can record yourself. So, you could record something really simple, but then play over it and immediately you get a reward from that. And so that's a really nice way to do it. And that's kind of how I really got into it, actually.
How about you, Abel? How do you go about creating all this amazing new work?
A lot of what Simi said, I think a lot of the stuff It's the music I love to listen to. So at first you obsess about all the music you listen to. You listen to it all day long. It seeps into your body, into how you hear music, and it starts to really inspire you. And then the next step for me was to sing, because I sing, like I try to sing all the time, and we always feel like our instruments, um, it's not always such an extension of our voice. Our voice is so easy, you can you can sing anything in any octave, not in any octave, but you can sing any note and any style, and that feels very natural. And then try to translate that to your instrument, which is a wonderful challenge. And when it happens, it's really magical. And
Oh, Abel's frozen.
He froze on a great
Oh,
face.
you're
though.
back. You're back. That's
I'm
okay.
back. I'm back.
You're
I'm
back.
here.
Phew.
Okay. Yeah, technology for me also helps a lot. So I usually sometimes record myself, listen to myself, and then playing with other people. And just to improvise. Improvising doesn't mean you have to know anything. It just means you have to have the intuition and kind of predict and listen, and then try and come up with something in the moment. And sometimes it's really magical, and sometimes it isn't. So you always have to keep trying again and again and again and again.
Fantastic. Somebody actually asked just now, what do you prefer, playing on your own or with other people?
Oh, that's a hard question. That's a hard question. Recently, I've been working on being my own orchestra, you know, on the cello. It's really important for me to. I'm trying to find ways, and it's taking me a lot of time. And I sound terrible. I sound like a beginner sometimes. I sound like a real beginner, like, and sometimes I'm trying to play something and I'm trying to sing at the same time, and then maybe I can tie a shaker to my leg, and I can have some rhythm. And to do all these things at the same time takes a little bit of time. So I have to really accept that at the beginning it won't sound so good. So I'm cool with that. And I do that alone for a while, and then it gets better and better. But playing with people is really inspiring because they teach you some things that you never knew about yourself, and sometimes you have to react in the moment. It's like if we are having a conversation, you can't take too long to reply to me. Otherwise, we won't have a great conversation. So it's always great to play with people. So I can't say I prefer either. I'd say both are so good on their on in separate occasions.
What about you, Simi? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think, I've spent a lot of my life. When I grew up, I did lots of solo stuff, and then now since college, I've played with people all the time. So I'm similar to Abel now, that I'm now trying to figure out what I can do myself. Because mainly, you don't want to ask other people for their time, and you're trying to figure out your own voice. But definitely a mix. I think you get such different things out of both, and there's nothing more fun than being on stage with people and connecting and looking at them and bouncing off each other, and that is something that I think me and Abel both thrive off.
Fantastic. Somebody's also asked Simi, how old were you when you first started learning the violin?
Very young. I think I was like 4 or 5, because I was the youngest of the 3 of us, so I think got started early.
Yeah, great. Someone's keen to tell us that their mum is from South Africa and was born in Johannesburg too.
Yay!
But they haven't left their name. So if whoever wrote that, if you wanted to share your name, then we can say a special hello to you and your mum. Okay. Great question from Maya Parker. Abel, what is your favorite style of music?
Wow, that's a hard question. Favorite, you guys and favorites. I love, okay, first of all, I love rhythm, African music and rhythm. African music is huge. There's lots of different types, there's, West African music with the kora and with djembe. South African music is really beautiful because it's very choral. A lot of it is quite choral, and it actually has a little bit of a connection to music of like, because, we had missionaries from the Dutch Dutch, and also the British came a long time ago to South Africa, and missionaries came with like church music, and a lot of the stuff we have is like high bass lines that you'd hear from Haydn or things like this, but in a different style, and so we sing quite a bit in that way. So that's some of my favorite music, and I love Baroque music. I really love Baroque music because also it's full of improvisation, either playing solo Baroque music or sometimes playing continuo. which is accompanying other people, because sometimes, which is, I've been looking at it recently, sometimes they give you what they call figured bass, which is just the numbers, and they say, go for it, man. And you have to just figure out what you're gonna do, which is, I think it's really amazing, and you don't see it so much in other classical music, Haydn and onwards. Everything is really written, but sometimes in Baroque music you can really do what you like, which feels great.
Great, fantastic. Do you kind of have to sort of almost switch your thinking mind off sometimes, so that you're doing it on your instinct, Simi? How would you describe that feeling?
Yeah, I think, yeah, a lot of the time you do it on your instinct, because you don't realize how much you know actually, and how much is seeped in. I mean, I'm at the stage now where I realize I really want to go further than that, and I want to understand more, and I kind of wish I understood more. But I think sometimes you do just have to, your mind actually can get in the way from you realizing you do know loads, and you do have it in you because you've been around it and you've been surrounded by it, and even when you're playing in it, it's all going in. So definitely, like, your ear is number one, I think, and your instinct.
Great, fantastic. Now, this is a really interesting question, and one that's never been asked before. If you could play only one note for the rest of your life, what note would that be? What interesting concept. I'd never have come up with that question myself. What a really interesting one note. What would it be?
Oh,
it's hard to know, but I actually, because I'm doing a composition course at the moment, and one thing we had to do was write a piece only using one note, and I think I used an A, mainly because of the harmonics on the violin, and with the open strings you can play stuff and you hear everything else as well. So that's what I went for then. So there must be something that drew me to it.
What about you, Abel? What's your favorite note?
Well, I'm gonna have to meet you in person and tell you off, because these questions are hard. They're really okay, the note I would choose, something says B flat feels good.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Flats are lovely.
Yeah, but somehow actually this, I can give it different types of brightness, like it can be quite dark, and it depends how much you move in between. We can change things up, but yeah, I'd say B flat for this time. Yeah.
That's amazing. Fantastic. Great. Oh, look, we're going to have another poll. Here we go. Simi's favorite childhood film was Pocahontas, Lion King, 101 Dalmatians, Aladdin, or The Jungle Book. Okay, so the votes are coming in, and at the moment 101 Dalmatians is sneaking into the lead. Or Jungle Book has overtaken it. It's very exciting. It's nail biting to the finish, this one. It's quite even across the whole lot. I'm going to share the results now. And they think, Simi, that it is The Jungle Book.
Oh.
What's the answer?
Well, I mean, all of the films there are epic, but actually my favorite was Pocahontas, because I feel like I related to her, man. She's a woman of the earth. She cares about the earth. And even when I was younger, I cared about that now. And I watched it the other year and I was like, oh, I still relate to her today. I love her. And she's got some great songs.
Fantastic. And another one for Abel. The best piece of advice Abel was given as a child was, you can't ask too many questions, there's no wrong answer, or when one door shuts, another one opens. Okay, so I think it's racing ahead. We did this with Koza Cole a couple of weeks ago. He was the BBC Young Jazz Musician of the Year, incredible guy. And he's then said, oh, I like all those pieces of advice. I can't choose between them. So tell us what the answer is Abel. Let me share the results. They think that it is when one door shuts, another one opens. What do you think?
Oh, well, the best advice I ever had was there is no wrong answer, Yeah, I think it's always amazing how much, if you make an effort to do something, at least you made the effort. You are heading towards the right direction. So that's the whole idea. But if you don't try, actually that's when it feels like you're going more the other way. So actually giving it a go is probably the best way to do it. Again, when Simi just says, just start, that means, because you ask yourself, what will I do? Just start, and then you start, and then suddenly there's the solution. from where you've started. So I think that's always the way to go. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, I'm going to do a little quick screen share. There are loads of really good questions in the chat, but I'm going to come back to them. So I'm going to do a quick screen share again to show everybody what's been going on in NCO Online. And so here we go. What's been going on? Now, obviously, you had we had the sharing yesterday. I hope you saw it. If you didn't see it, I think you can catch up on it. We'll certainly make sure you can if you haven't seen it already. And that was the selfie with the last webinar with Koza Cole and Katie Foster. You must know her. Do you guys? Yeah, and Stephen Mangan, the actor. They were talking about improvisation actually. We saw the winners of the amazing Wallace and Gromit soundtrack on the sharing. So if you want to catch up on those, they're brilliant. You've been doing some of your fabulous musical postcards for you, which always make us smile and bring us great joy. There are loads on the website for you to pick and choose from, all different levels, all different instruments. Just go and find some and have a bit of fun with the musical postcards. You've been in your sectionals. This is a great trumpet one with Ryan, and we saw a little a clip of On the Move. This is guys, this is the big multi-track we're doing at the moment. It's a kind of 5-minute piece with all different styles in it, and we're going to be premiering it with 600 kids on the video in on July the 1st. So we've had the first tiny edit of it, and we shared a little bit of that in the sharing. And what's next? Well, I can tell you about the next 2 webinars now because we finally booked them. So we've got on the 4th of June, we've got Anne-Marie Fidel and Ewan Miller, who were the BBC Young Musician finalists. So they're joining us on the 4th of June. And then the final webinar of NCO Online is called Presenting Musicians. So musicians who also present, who speak to camera and introduce things. So we've got Nate Holder, Jess Gillam, Julian Bliss, and Yolanda Brown. So super excited about all of those. So I'm really looking forward to you joining us for those and for all the other stuff. There's obviously all the wellbeing stuff going on and all the sectionals and workshops. There's still masses and masses to do. So brilliant. Right, back to the questions. Okay. Have you ever suffered from stage fright, Simi, from Roy?
Yes, definitely. Weirdly, when I left home and went to music school, that's when I really started suffering from stage fright. Maybe because all of a sudden I was around my peers who were also playing. I used to find that way scarier than playing at home to, my parents and their friends or something. So definitely I have done that. But I think I've realized, well, actually, I think we always suffer from it sometimes, and you never know when it's going to come. But most of the time it would be if I was doing something I think maybe that wasn't right for me. But the more I find the thing that is right, the more you get that nervous feeling, but I don't know, it's an excitement as well as a fear.
We've got a lovely question. Thank you, Simi. A lovely question here about you leaving your family, Abel. That must have been a hard thing. How did you make the choice to leave your family in South Africa for this musical journey?
Oh, that's a good question. I always had this dream. I always really wanted to, I a lot of the time in South Africa, I think we with especially with classical music, we view Europe as this kind of mecca. It's a little bit crazy, and I think I kind of blew it up in my head a little bit too much, because when I came here, it was great, but it also felt normal. I think the decision to leave was a very automatic and natural one, because I knew I had a calling. I think a lot of the time I really just wanted to perform to loads of people, to different people, and also play at a higher standard. And there's really amazing teachers here. I had an amazing cello teacher who I still love to go to. And the performance opportunities are much more here than in South Africa. So I felt like I could really make a living. And then here also, it's a much more diverse place where you meet Brazilian musicians, you meet Portuguese music, you meet everybody from everywhere with these different influences. And I think that's really influenced my way of thinking. And I think that's been amazing. And I miss home a lot, like every day. And it would be great to go back and to give back, the different styles of my music, what I've learned. And I would also love to teach people who are your age, like, and play music with them, and kind of bring up the music in South Africa as well. But I'm really happy, playing with an array of people here, and I feel allowed to be myself as well. So that's really nice.
It's amazing. Brilliant. Okay, three different people have asked, which is always a very popular question, an embarrassing moment you're happy to share with us from your life, just to show that you're human. Abel, have you had anything embarrassing happen to you in your musical life?
In my musical life? Oh, lots of things. I've worn trousers inside out, you know.
What, like in a concert?
In a concert, yeah.
No way.
So if your trousers are inside out, your pockets are like really visible. They're like flapping. I've done that a few times. That was a vibe, a style of mine. I thought I'll keep it, you know.
Then
this
look.
is my new look. Nobody else is doing it. It's gotta be unique. So that was one.
That's a good one. Like
Yeah,
that one.
it's always to do with like clothes. You're not quite sure, not quite prepared, and you just walk on stage and play, you know. But yeah.
We had one guest, a cellist, who flicked her foot once, and her shoe went flying off into the audience. Apparently.
A stage dive, yeah.
Yeah.
This is great.
How about you, Simi? Is there anything like little embarrassing things you could share?
There was one time my bow came out of my hand and I was playing in an orchestra, and then it actually went down like the side and actually underneath the stage, but I was in a pit, so thank God no one could see. So actually, even though the audience was there, it was a bit like, oh, what do I do? And then everyone was like, oh, I just had to grab another bow out of my case or something. So that was a bit scary, because I also was wondering where my bow had gone and whether it was okay. So yeah, that was a bit of a funny one.
Oh, fantastic. And if you had, Lily's asked, if you could have a different career, what would it be? What would you like to be, Abel, if you weren't a musician?
I always love a few things. The first one is an actor, you know. I love, yeah, semi-surprised. Yeah. I love playing different characters, you know, and I also love making fun of people a little bit, you know. So yeah. So
have
like,
you been on the receiving end of that then, to me, making fun of people?
Yeah.
Yeah, in a good sport way. Yeah.
If you weren't a musician, Simi, what would you like to be?
I always say to myself that I think I'd kind of be nothing, so that I would be free to travel the world and not feel like tied down by something. So maybe like just kind of something that would allow me to travel the world. And you know, there's a dream that you could be like a photographer, and so something that means that you have to go meet people and see different cultures and be part of that.
That sounds fun. You can kind of do that as a musician too, though, can't you?
Exactly.
Not in COVID times, but hopefully again sometime soon.
Yeah.
Brilliant. A lovely question from Matilda. Who is your favorite band or orchestra or group of musicians?
Mine is probably Snarky Puppy.
Ooh, yeah. That's a great group.
What about you, Abel? Do you have one?
Favorite group? My goodness. That's a really hard one. Sorry. For some reason that's a hard one for me. I think I would go for there's a group actually in Holland. Nobody really knows them, but I love them. It's a group for piano, cello, and a West African singer. And the West African singer has a kalimba. It's like a box and a thumb piano, but he plays the side with a ring. So you know, and he does this, and then the cello has 5 strings, and he has an F string at the bottom, which is really cool. So he plays lots of bass lines, and he plays this way, and he files his nails so he can play like a bass guitarist a little bit, and a jazz pianist. And the cellist's name is Ernst Reisiger, and they're from Holland, and they're really, really beautiful musicians. So if you just type Ernst, which is Ernst, Reisiger, you'll be able to find it really, or Ernst Cello, you'll be able to really find it. And it's some of the most beautiful music, and sometimes they don't write music, they just improvise, and it always comes off as really cool and groovy, and also very slow and beautiful as well.
Fantastic. And somebody's asked, why do you like the cello so much? Why did you pick the cello? Well, you sort of said it earlier, didn't you? It just felt right for you. It felt a good size and high and low. Is that why? I
mean, yeah, I can elaborate a little bit on that. I mean, the more I play the cello, or the more I look at the cello, I see that more possibilities that are not to do with genre. they're to do with the ability of their instrument. Like, I feel like I can make the cello speak different languages. If I really wanted to, I could play, in a different world of like quarter tones, and be playing something that doesn't sound so Western and from a different world. I can play, in a groovy way with pizzicato. I can use both hands to play pizzicato if I wanted to, like there's a piece by Berio. It's for double bass. Actually, it's called the Berio sequenza. There's different sequenzas, and actually for the bass they use two fingers, and they play all on the harmonic notes, and they play pizzicato on both, so ring, 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 which is amazing. So I felt like I could also, I'm gonna be working on this my whole life and finding different ways to play the cello, and I think the cello allows me to do so many things. So I'm happy to be all of that. I don't feel like I'm playing the cello. I feel like I'm just trying to do characters of different kinds.
Now, there's a lovely question here. We're nearly at the end, unfortunately, but I'm just going to get this one in. Simi, did you ever suffer with confidence or feeling that you weren't good enough, or that others were ahead of you in your musical career and you were never going to catch up? And that did you ever have that feeling? That's a sad nod, I can see.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting because actually, I mean, definitely, especially when you start growing up and you're around peers playing, it's always something you think about. But actually, it's something that I suffer from a bit more now, because I'm trying to find my own voice. And so with that, comes more insecurities and more vulnerabilities, but also, it's so worth it because you're following something really true to you. And so even though it's painful, I like to call it growing pains. And, like the discomfort means that you're pushing a boundary, and, but it's hard sometimes, it really is, but I know it's worth it, because when you have those moments where you feel like you're expressing yourself, you're like, this is why.
Oh, that's a beautiful answer. Thank you. Great. I think it's time for our selfie. I think these guys have got some fun stuff to, or maybe not. I found a rather silly hat that I think Abel's got something.
A head shaker.
A head shaker.
I'm just gonna.
Okay, here we go. So excellent. I'm not sure I'm looking near my best, but anyway, here we go.
Okay.
So let's lean in and let's take the selfie. And 3, 2, 1. Great. Thank you so much.
Viva.
Thank you. Thank you guys for taking the pictures.
Everyone.
And thank you both, Abel and Simi, for being such fabulous guests. And thank you guys for asking such lovely questions, because they're very thoughtful questions and made us all think a little bit, especially that one about if you could only play one note for the rest of your life.
I know.
What would it be? That's an awesome.
Mine and Abel's together as well, A and B flat.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's where it's at.
True. That's a good thought. So if you chose something more consonant, you might have more of a career. Oh, there's so much to choose from, isn't there? Great. Well, thank you guys. Lovely to see you. We really hope that you can come and work with us at NCO sometime and inspire our, because we've got amazing musicians out there that I know will learn so much from you, but also we learn so much from them all the time as well. So a great big goodbye and lots of NCO love to you all, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.